A street corner you've never seen feels instantly familiar. Your stomach drops. Your brain whispers you've been here before. You haven't. That uncanny shiver has a name, déjà vu, and it isn't a mystical warning or a glitch in the universe. It's a feature of memory that occasionally misfires, a moment when the machinery that decides this is new versus this is known gets out of sync by just enough to fool you. Start with what déjà vu is not. It is not a full recollection of a past event. You don't suddenly remember who was there and what came next. It is a flash of familiarity without a source. Memory science splits recognition into two signals, familiarity and recollection. Familiarity is a fast, fuzzy, "this rings a bell." Recollection is the slower, richer, "here's when and where I saw it." Déjà vu is the first signal firing alone, loud and wrong, while the second fails to arrive. That split maps onto brain systems. A strip of cortex in the medial temporal lobe, called the perirhinal cortex, tracks familiarity. Have I seen features like this before? Nearby, the hippocampus builds relational maps that bind people, places, and moments into episodes you can relive. Most days, these systems agree. You walk into your kitchen, the perirhinal cortex says, "familiar," and the hippocampus supplies 100 specific breakfast episodes. On a strange street in a foreign city, both say new. Déjà vu happens when the familiarity circuit spikes high while the recollection circuit stays quiet. The result feels like a memory without content. Why would familiarity spike when it shouldn't? One answer is processing fluency. When your brain can process a scene unusually easily because its layout echoes places you've been, because lighting and symmetry match a template, because your eyes just scanned it in a way you've scanned other scenes, the fluency itself gets misattributed as familiar. The content is new, but your processing is smooth, so you interpret the ease as a memory signal. The effect is strongest when similarity is structural, not obvious. Researchers have induced déjà vu in the lab simply by showing people a room with the same spatial arrangement as a room they saw earlier, but with different objects. The participants report the eerie feeling. They insist they haven't seen the room. They just can't shake the sense that they have. Another answer is timing. The brain is a chorus, not a soloist. Signals arrive and integrate over milliseconds. Two streams, one visual path through one hemisphere, another through the other. One through a rapid coarse channel, another through a slower detailed channel, normally converge. If one stream lags a hair on the second encounter with a similar pattern, the system can interpret the second arrival as a repeat, a replay of what just happened. A double click on perception. You don't notice the delay, you feel the consequence, familiarity without an identifiable scene. There's a cousin phenomenon called jamais vu, never seen. You write a common word 10 times and suddenly it looks alien. You stare at your own name and it loses meaning. That's semantic satiation. Fire the same neurons repeatedly and they temporarily stop signaling, "this is ordinary." Déjà vu and jamais vu are two sides of the same coin, your brain's novelty familiarity meter drifting from its usual calibration. In one case, the needle swings to known when it shouldn't. In the other, it swings to unknown for something obvious. Some moments of déjà vu are marked in neurology clinics as auras, warning flickers that a temporal lobe seizure is coming. Patients with temporal lobe epilepsy sometimes report intense déjà vu, déjà vécu, already lived, or time distortion just before an event. That doesn't make everyday déjà vu pathological. Most healthy people, around 2/3 to 4/5 in surveys, experience it occasionally, especially in adolescence and young adulthood, and less as they age. The clinical version usually comes with other symptoms: nausea, odors, fear, or looping narratives. The ordinary version lasts seconds and passes. Stress and sleep deprivation make déjà vu more likely. Both shift neurotransmitters and disrupt how the hippocampus gates inputs, making it more prone to pattern completion, filling in a whole memory from a fragment, and more likely to misfire on familiarity. Travel adds fuel: unfamiliar layouts that echo past layouts, fatigue, and lots of boundaries as you enter and exit new spaces, which are the moments when your brain is segmenting experience and is most vulnerable to mislabeling a segment. That segmentation step matters. Your brain slices continuous life into episodes using event boundaries: walking through a door, finishing a task, hearing a new voice. At a boundary, it quickly decides whether to start a new file or append to an old one. Déjà vu is a boundary decision gone weird. Your pattern matcher says append, your episode builder can't find a matching file, and your consciousness gets the memo that something is off. Memory scientists test these ideas with illusions. In one set of experiments, people study word lists like bed, rest, awake, dream, tired, night. Later, they confidently remember having seen the related but absent word, sleep. The brain's gist detector is strong, source memory is weak. That's the DRM paradigm. It doesn't create déjà vu exactly, but it shows the machinery that could: familiarity from pattern overlap without correct source tagging. In another line, scene layouts are the trick. Participants explore a virtual environment with certain room geometries. Later, they enter new rooms whose shapes rhyme with the old. Reports of déjà vu spike, and the better the geometric rhyme, the stronger the feeling, even when the objects are all new. Clinical imaging adds texture. During lucid reported déjà vu, activity rises in medial temporal structures and parts of prefrontal cortex involved in monitoring memory decisions, areas that ask, is this really a memory or just a strong feeling? If your prefrontal monitor is conservative, it vetoes false familiarity. If it's lenient or tired, it lets the feeling through. That's why déjà vu can feel like insight without content. The monitor is online enough to notice a mismatch and ring an alarm, but not robust enough to resolve it. Culture supplies its own explanations. Reincarnation stories, prophecies, time loops, simulations. They are compelling because déjà vu arrives with conviction. You don't think this might be familiar. You feel this is familiar. Conviction is how the brain experiences confidence. It doesn't tell you why it's confident. The scientific account doesn't insult the feeling. It explains why the feeling can be so strong even when it's wrong. The familiarity circuit fired high, and the confidence meter listens to amplitude, not to source. There's also the role of prediction. The brain is Bayesian, constantly forecasting the next frame from the last. When predictions are accurate and easy to compute, experience flows. When a prediction is accidentally primed by something you didn't notice, a similar corner, a shared rhythm in footsteps, a pattern of windows, and the next moment matches, you get a flush of, I knew this would happen, and your mind, looking for a label, calls it remembrance. You didn't time travel, you just predicted correctly using cues below awareness. If you want to feel how sensitive memory is to structure, try a small exercise. Walk into 10 unfamiliar rooms in a day, shops, lobbies, and mentally note the positions of door, counter, main table, and 2 large objects. Later, enter an 11th room that happens to mirror a popular template. The counter is left, the door behind, the dominant table dead ahead, the lights warm. There's a good chance the layout will trip your familiarity meter. you'll swear you've been there. You haven't. You've been to the template. Another everyday source is micro-repetition. You place your keys, go back to get your phone, place your keys again without noticing. An hour later, you re-enter the same room, glance the same direction, and your eyes trace the same path. The motor plan is a match. The sensory input is a near match. The brain calls it again. Déjà vu is often a choreography problem. There's an extreme version, déjà vécu, already lived, where people believe long stretches of life are repeats. In rare psychiatric or neurological conditions, conviction detaches from reality so firmly that no counter-evidence dislodges it. That is not the ordinary case. Most déjà vu is self-correcting. Your prefrontal cortex quietly says, "No, there's no episode here," and the feeling fades in seconds. If episodes last long, come with other neurological signs, or turn into a fixed belief, that's a reason to talk to a clinician. For the rest of us, déjà vu is a harmless hiccup. Cinemas and games love to dress déjà vu as fate. A scene repeats. A cat crosses twice. The hero remembers a move before they make it. Real déjà vu doesn't grant prophecy. It might give you a stronger than average hunch about the next beat because your brain just matched a structure and is extrapolating. But that's prediction, not knowledge of the future. Enjoy the chill. Don't let it steer your decisions. Some practical moves help you ride the feeling instead of letting it spook you. When the wave hits, pause and breathe. Name it. This is déjà vu, a familiarity spike without a source. Look for a structural rhyme. What does this room resemble? Where have I seen this angle? If you can identify a template, this hall is arranged like my old school, the feeling often dissolves. If you can't, let it pass and make a quick note afterward. Collecting your episodes demystifies them and may reveal patterns, more when tired, more when traveling, more in symmetrical spaces. If déjà vu worries you because it arrives with anxiety, anchor yourself in senses. Press your feet to the floor, name 3 sounds, look at a sharp edge. The act of orienting pulls you out of the model your brain is overconfident about and back into sensory data that can recalibrate the meter. Sometimes the fastest fix for a false familiarity is to do something deliberately novel. Turn the other way, touch a texture you weren't attending to, ask a question out loud. Small novelty breaks the loop. A stranger cousin called Déjà entendu, already heard, haunts music lovers, a new song that feels like an old friend. The mechanics are the same. Chord progressions and rhythms are templates. Our familiarity circuits reward structure. The brain's economy loves to reuse patterns. New art always sits on old scaffolds. That's why hearing a 1-5-6-4 progression can unlock a smile and occasionally a faint echo of, "I've heard this before," when strictly you haven't. Experiments hint at a deeper layer, linked oscillations. The hippocampus and cortex talk in rhythms, with theta waves, alt 480 Hz, coordinating encoding and retrieval. If the system slips briefly into a retrieval-ready phase while you're actually encoding a new scene, the internal state feels like remembering, and that mood colors the experience. You aren't replaying anything. You're encoding in a remembering posture. It's like walking into a room with nostalgia already in your mouth. The scene tastes familiar even before it deserves to. On the opposite side, prefrontal areas patrol for memory mistakes. They compute a prediction error. Does this familiarity match an actual episode? And can veto false alarms. Fatigue, stress, and distraction lower the veto threshold. That's why déjà vu thrives on road trips, conferences, and days with too much screen time. Your monitor is tired, your templates are overactive, your patience is thin. there's humor in how the brain handles uncertainty. It doesn't like unassigned signals, so it slaps labels on them: memory, intuition, gut feeling, even when the underlying cause is mechanical. The system works well enough that we survive. The cost is an occasional shiver, a street corner that feels haunted by your own history. History and culture gave déjà vu all sorts of meanings long before neuroscience. Some saw it as spirit memory, others as a sign of destiny. You don't have to mock those stories to prefer a cleaner one. Your brain is a pattern machine built to compress a chaotic world into usable predictions. Familiarity is the fastest and loosest output of that machine. Déjà vu is the price of speed, a false positive on known. It's not malfunction, it's a boundary case. That boundary case usually shows up more in youth, not because young brains are broken, but because they're more plastic, more prone to novelty, more frequently crossing event boundaries as life accelerates. New schools, new cities, new faces. With age, routines dominate, templates harden. The familiarity circuit is less excited. Déjà vu visits less often. If you want to meet it again, travel, sleep weird and walk through a lot of doorways. You'll get all the déjà vu you can handle. There's a pleasant twist in all this. The same machinery that occasionally lies to you makes life livable. It lets you navigate the gist of situations without examining every detail. It lets you know a face without remembering a name. It gives you a sense of flow as you move through spaces that rhyme. And sometimes it double clicks and you get a flicker of the uncanny. Treat it as the mind's equivalent of a visual afterimage, a trace of how hard your brain is trying to keep up. If you're curious enough to explore, set up a gentle demonstration. Spend a week photographing room layouts, without people, wide shots of corners and furniture. At the end, arrange a new room to match the geometry of a favorite photo, but with entirely different objects. Step in after a night of poor sleep. There's a fair chance that a skein of recognition will tug at you. It's not a spell, it's structure doing what structure does. One more sibling deserves a nod. Tip of the tongue. You know a word. You can taste its first letter, but you can't retrieve it. That too is the familiarity recollection split. Strong activation in the perirhinal-like feeling of "it's in there", weak access to the hippocampal index that would pull the full item. The fix, think of related words, relax, wait, works because you're changing cues and giving retrieval a second chance. The difference is the tip of the tongue is a fact you eventually fetch. Déjà vu never resolves. The episode doesn't exist to be found. If you do nothing else with this knowledge, do this. When déjà vu hits, smile. You're catching a rare glimpse of the algorithm. A tiny race condition played out and you, the conscious rider, felt the wobble. In a world full of forces you can't control, here's one you can name and release. No omen. No loop. Just a brain making its best guess and occasionally guessing already a beat too soon. There's a particular kindness in letting it be. Don't force a lesson or a fear into the space. Don't burn a decision just because a hallway felt old. If the feeling lingers, anchor yourself in the three most specific facts of the moment: the color of the floor, the name of the street, the smell in the air. Specifics starve the illusion. Templates hate detail. Later, if you like, collect your episodes. Date, place, mood, sleep debt, stress level, hunger, whether you were traveling. Patterns you find are data about your life, not about the universe. Maybe you get déjà vu in symmetrical buildings after red-eye flights. Maybe it loves supermarkets and escalators. Maybe it visits only when you're overwhelmed. Learning your triggers turns magic into method, and method into gentle mastery. None of this means the experience is trivial. The goosebumps are real, the pull is strong. That's the point. A memory system built to keep you alive will err on the side of marking danger and marking opportunity. Familiarity signals safety. When the signal is wrong, your body still relaxes, your attention still softens, and the dissonance, the mismatch between how safe it feels and how unknown it is, creates the chill. You're feeling your own priors collide with reality. There's a final, maybe comforting perspective. You live inside a brain that compresses your life into a story you can carry. Compression means loss. It also means speed and coherence. When compression glitches, the seams show déjà vu, jamais vu, strange loops of memory. Instead of treating those seams as errors to fear, treat them as evidence that a complicated system works most of the time. The fact that you can walk into 1,000 rooms and know what to do is astonishing. The fact that 5 of them feel haunted by familiarity is the tax you pay for that gift. Next time it happens, a cafe far from home that feels uncannily yours, pause and notice the geometry, the light, the path you just traced, the music you half heard before you walked in. You might even be able to say why it felt familiar. If you can't, trust that the feeling will fade and the coffee will still be good. Memory will file the scene. And if you ever return, you'll get the real thing, a true déjà vu with a source, a place you actually have been. That one has a different flavor. It tastes like recognition with roots. Until then, you carry a tool you didn't ask for but can now understand. A mind that predicts so hard, it sometimes mistakes its own prediction for the past. The double click will come again. So will the smile.